This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. Hundreds of litres of corrosive chemicals have leaked from a truck as it drove from Derwent Park to Boyer. Several emergency crews are still on the scene tonight, working to clean up the contamination by the side of the River Derwent, just outside New Norfolk.
Fire crews donning protective suits at the scene of the spill, taking all precautions against a potentially dangerous substance. These two men the only ones allowed into a 50-metre exclusion zone on Boyer Road until the full scale of the spill is understood.
They were just doing some reconnaissance, getting some information for us so we can plan our attack from there.
Other crews stand back as a temporary windsock signals what parts of the scene are safe. The pair in the truck find the source of the leak, discovering up to 900 litres of sodium hypochlorite has escaped. The truck was being driven from Derwent Park to the Boyer paper mill. The driver pulled over when he noticed the load was leaking.
The product is a strong alkaline product, but it's like it's a corrosive, it'll just chew through metal, like everything's all rusty down there.
As fire crews work to contain and decontaminate the scene here, police have closed off the road between New Norfolk and Boyer in both directions.
We're heading into a clean-up phase at the moment. We've got some products still left on the ground and in the back of the truck. When we get some sand in from the council.
With the inspection crew's job done, a blue decontamination team moved in, hosing down feet and hands. The road closure continuing this evening as crews bring in sand to contain the spill. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
The fall of Tasmanian-owned hardware business Kemp & Denning continues with the sale of 3 of its trade stores in the state's south. Clennett's Mitre 10 will take over the store's trade division with an expectation workers will remain employed during the transfer.
It's the Tasmanian brand boasting 115 years of servicing the state. But today K&D confirmed another sell-off, with 3 Tasmanian sites bought by rival hardware store Clennett's Mitre 10, owned by Metcash.
Which is a large national retailer, and it's probably a sign that the national retailers in the hardware space are sort of taking a lot of competition and market share off the local providers.
Clennett's will take over the trade stores in Glenorchy, Cambridge and Kingston. The company in a statement ensuring workers would remain employed during the transfer.
Every indication is given that there'll be business as usual and nobody will be jeopardising their positions.
Earlier this year, K&D closed its store in Devonport, leaving more than 30 employees without work. The sale of Glenorchy's home and building business store also affecting staff. K&D will continue to operate its retail stores here at Hobart CBD and at Cambridge. The company says the latest development is part of a plan to consolidate the business. The mainly local shareholders are not expected to be disadvantaged.
This probably may well be a positive for shareholders, given that it is likely that a shareholder return may come through a dividend as a result of the sale of these businesses.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
The wife of a missing Risdon Vale man has been charged over his disappearance. Dwayne Davies hasn't been seen since Friday and police believe he met with foul play. Earlier this week, police searched the Elderslie home of Bradley Scott Purkis, who's now charged with murder. Forensics also examined Margaret Ann Otto's home in Risdon Vale. She's been charged with accessory after the fact to murder, failing to report a killing and perverting the course of justice. Mr Davies' body hasn't been found. A Level 3 escalation is in place tonight at the Royal Hobart Hospital, with additional staff and extra beds opened to try to ease the pressure. It comes as the Health Minister encourages nursing graduates to remain in the state as part of a workforce boost promised in the budget.
Michael Ferguson meeting the nursing students he hopes will be part of Tasmania's health workforce rebuild. The Health Minister's promised 350 additional staff in the budget to be deployed over a 4-year period.
So for our nurses who are in training or recently completed, we also want them to be involved.
The serious need for a health injection once again highlighted. The Royal Hobart Hospital tonight at a level 3 escalation due to high patient demand, with elective surgeries to be rescheduled, additional staff and 8 extra beds hoping to ease the pressure. Meanwhile, the state opposition has started on its economic direction statement tour, selling Tasmania an alternative in the lead up to next year's state election. Early Childhood Australia are calling for more information on 6 proposed child and family centres, as a gap in services remains for vulnerable children.
In some communities in Tasmania, we have some fantastic programs in childcare centres and they need to be tapped into. And in other communities, we don't have as much access.
The Liberal government's committing $5 million for the transition of a new Education Act amid ECA fears of lost services.
The government's going to need to have a very significant and well thought out plan to be able to make sure that communities in Tasmania can still access education and care.
Yes, we are implementing all the initiatives contained within the Education Act. They principally go to putting more teachers, more support staff into our schools.
Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
An iconic West Coast tourism business is being revamped by the RACT. A brand new boat is under construction to ply the waters of the Gordon River. Tourism leaders say the West Coast region needs continuing investment and innovation for visitors, or it risks stagnating.
This is the metal shell of what's set to become another Tasmanian tourism icon. The RACT unveiling its newly commissioned boat as construction gets underway.
The amenity will be significantly enhanced, so this will be a world-class experience.
This is an artist's impression of what the finished product will look like. Floor-to-ceiling windows and a 360-degree viewing deck. The RACT says the 33-metre-long vessel has been designed to be more environmentally friendly than the existing Lady Jane Franklin II, and its special hull will minimise wash. Richardson Devine Marine has been tasked with making the plans a reality and expects delivery early next year.
By the end of the boat, there's 100 people directly and indirectly involved in building the boat.
The Tourism Industry Council says this project is the type of investment needed to continue attracting visitors for the West Coast's vital tourism industry.
What we're seeing here is both the major cruise companies will invest in new boats over the space of 18 months, so it's really a jolt in the arm of confidence for the region.
So this will be another reason to get to the beautiful West Coast, to Strahan, to visit that region and to experience some of the world's best wilderness on one of the world's best boats.
While the construction comes with a multi-million-dollar price tag, the RACT says the full cost is commercial in confidence. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
The cause of a fire on a fish processing vessel has been determined as accidental by fire investigators. It's believed specialist equipment was being used to weld plastic pipe on the $18 million vessel when it caught fire late yesterday at Margate. 4 men were treated for smoke inhalation at the scene. It's estimated $100,000 worth of damage was caused. Notable Tasmanian community members will be locked behind bars tonight to help raise money for charity. The annual White Line bailout hoping to raise $80,000.
Well, there's about 80 inmates being locked up, so everyday people, business people, you name it, locking up our friends, our family, enemies, will lock up anybody.
All funds will go towards helping at-risk young people. Students at Ogilvie High School have taken part in a cross-country course today, but with a quirky twist. The MS Colour Dash dousing hundreds of athletes in a splash of pink, blue and green as they made their way around the field. All funds raised from the colourful event will go towards the Multiple Sclerosis Society. Artwork worth nearly $500,000 is being handed over to the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery. With a distinctive Outback Australia theme, the collection gives an impression on life in the early 20th century.
This painting is one of the works heading to the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery, one of 22 being donated for public display from a private collector.
Modern Australian, so there's some Bill Robinsons, there's Ewan McLeod.
And Clifton Pugh, who is responsible for this work, The Shooting of a Kangaroo.
We're very interested in looking to inland Australia to reflect on Australian identity.
Meanwhile, artwork from community galleries will have a special platform at the Queen Victoria Museum and Art Gallery. 2 eagle-eyed curators selecting the works from remote galleries for 10 objects, 10 stories.
The stories come out about what these objects are about.
And one of those stories lies in this cuckoo clock, which was found on the battlefields of France during World War I.
The soldiers went into a trench. They thought it was a time bomb going or something because they could hear this ticking. And what it was a German soldier had collected a cuckoo clock that was part of their daily life in the trenches on the other side.
The exhibition runs until July 23. And ahead of the official launch for Dark Mofo, an exhibition by a Tasmanian printmaker has opened at Rosny Barn. Dubbed a cabinet of curiosities, the work is inspired by imaginary flora and fauna. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
It's been an emotional morning to launch the Give Me 5 for Kids campaign as a family told how they nearly lost their baby son. The Kerslakes are sharing their personal experience to help encourage Tasmanians to give what they can to the campaign, which aims to raise $500,000 statewide for hospital facilities.
This community raised money really allows us to keep our equipment up to date and buy things that we may not have had on the priority list.
160 people attended the launch at the Launceston General Hospital. Fundraising events, including the telethon, will run during June. Let's take a look at the day's business and finance with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. Australian shares have ended the week on a high note, posting their best day since March as strong overseas markets added a tailwind and traders bought back into the banks and miners. The ASX 200 index has risen by 52.9 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at just under 74 US cents and 82.46 Japanese yen.
Launceston coach Sam Lonergan has labelled the upcoming clash with Devonport as a high-risk game. The captain coach admits it's unusual for the playing group to enter the match as favourites.
The Blues have been bubbling under this season, the fresh-look side claiming its first major scalp on the weekend against Glenorchy. Now, Sam Lonergan has some anxiety about the newfound expectation.
It's more of a worry. We haven't been in this position before for a long time. We've always been at the bottom of the ladder. So now to be going into a game where we should win it, that's a new experience for this playing group.
A win over Devonport could see the side hop to third on the table. Lonergan will start in the middle against the in-form Beau Sharman, who comes off a team-best performance last round.
Well, I think it's definitely one of those high-risk games. Mitch is a fantastic coach with opposition knowledge.
Meanwhile, the Tigers are champing at the bit to take on Burnie. The side has never won at West Park.
We can't take any game lightly. We're not in a position as a club to do that.
The Tigers had plenty of the footy last week against Devonport, but struggled to make a dent on the scoreboard until late in the game.
There's always that belief within the group. It's just about our guys bringing the intent.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Launceston Tornadoes players are on notice for tomorrow night's clash against Ballarat. Coach Richard Dickel says his side's defence has not been up to scratch.
Just individual accountability. When you've got a lot of young girls playing, sometimes that doesn't come right away.
The players will have an added incentive with the Madeline Howard Memorial Shield on the line. The trophy is named in honour of a former Tawns player who lost her life in 2004.
So we'll be playing, with a bit of, extra energy and obviously want to bring the trophy home again this year.
Ballarat is yet to win a game this season. Tip-off is 6:30 tomorrow night at Elphin Stadium.
Good evening, Hobart, Launceston, Burnie and Devonport, all on 16 today. It got as cold as -2 at Lake Leak and as warm as 18 at Bridport and Friendly Beaches. And even though we had a southwesterly airstream over us, we did record above average temperatures today. St Helens 17, King Island, Wynyard and Campania 16, Flinders Island, Lowhead, Grove, Ouse and Strawn 15 degrees. Lyawini reached double figures, 10 today. There is low cloud sitting near Victoria and around Tasmania. Low and mid cloud is spiralling into a low pressure zone, which is in the Tasman Sea off New South Wales. Cloud with the front is near Western Australia and thunderstorm activity is evident over the tropics, so I guess that would be tropic thunder. Now, over our region there was low and middle level cloud and that was mainly over the west and south of Tasmania. A strong but weakening high remains dominant over Western Victoria and stretches over most of the nation tomorrow. The cold front to the west slides to the south as a trough continues over WA. Winds southwest to northwest over southern waters at 25 knots, but reaching 30 knots early. Variable winds over the east coast and 10 to 15 knot breezes over remaining waters. Strong wind warning for waters from Tasman Island to southeast Cape. Saturday in Hobart, partly cloudy, 14 degrees, a top of 11 for Medina, Oatlands 3 overnight, a top of 12 tomorrow. Launceston, early frost, 5 but partly cloudy, 13 the maximum, 14 for Devonport, a sunny day, -2 for Lyowini, a top of 10 again tomorrow. For Burnie, mostly sunny and 14. A possible light shower for Strawn, but not too much to worry about. 13 the high and 14 the top for Marrawar. And for St Helens tomorrow, partly cloudy and 16. Swansea 16, 15 the top for Orford. On Sunday, showers over the west early before extending to other parts during the day. Cloudy over the north and east. Showers at some stage for most of Tasmania on Monday, and morning showers on Tuesday before contracting to the northeast. Frosts tomorrow for Adelaide, Canberra and Alice Springs. Possible showers for Cairns and Perth. Partly cloudy weather for Melbourne and Sydney, but sunny for Brisbane. And it's a little cloudy over the state at the moment. 13 in Hobart, Launceston currently 7 and 10 in Devonport. Joe, that's it for me.
It certainly is. Thank you, Murph. That's all from all of us. Thanks for your company. Good night.